There.
We're in. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paramount Fitness Podcast. And I'm joined today by a old friend of mine, but a good friend of mine, a fellow health and fitness professional and all-round good guy, Mr. Richard Peterson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lee.
How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm very well.
You're looking very well.
Thank you.
You've clearly been looking after yourself during this lockdown.
Well, yeah. Before we press record here, we had this discussion about what people have been doing during lockdown, and I think it's been make or break for people. They've gone one way or the other. You've either decided to use the time to get fitter or not. And I decided that I had plenty of time, and it was about time that I got cardiovascularly fit, actually, more than anything else, because I hadn't really done any CV for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've dropped 6 kilos.
Wow.
If I wrote down what I ate, you'd go, Jesus, how have you managed to lose any weight? But I haven't sorted that part of my life out particularly well, but that's the next stage.
And a man of your knowledge should. So let's just
it's
quickly,
ridiculous.
Before we go into conversation, let's give people a bit of context behind who you are, what you do, where you're from.
Sure. Okay, so I'm a man in his mid-50s. I'm a personal trainer, level 5 massage therapist, and evidence-based nutritionist. And I work mostly with the personal training, work mostly in the film industry these days. And I also have a pelvic floor core and postural training technique that we use to educate people in the UK. So mostly osteopaths, chiropractors, physiotherapists, women's health physiotherapists, personal trainers, yoga teachers, Pilates teachers. So 2 strands of the business, really. One is some stuff I do on my own, and one that I do with a partner.
Which is UK hypopressive.
Hyperpressives, yeah.
And we'll talk about that
not
a
the
little bit
catchiest of
later.
names.
It's not. It doesn't roll off your tongue, does it?
It does not, no.
But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so man in his 50s, keeping fit. It's interesting you start this conversation by talking about how people reacted to lockdown. There was this whole kind of pressure initially that people were saying, you've got to use lockdown to be productive. You've got to use lockdown to be positive. Why don't you read this? And I think a lot of people felt pressure to do something positive when, for the first time in their life, they were totally out of control of something. They were faced with a situation that none of us have ever been through before. And it was deemed poor of somebody if they didn't do something positive. How do you feel about that?
I think it depends on what circumstances lockdown threw up for you. What they threw up for me was opportunity, because once I knew that financial situation was not taken care of, but there was some money coming in via grants and stuff like that. A little bit of savings. I'm not a wealthy man, but I had enough to get by. Once I knew I had enough to get by, it was like, well, what am I going to do with that time? And it just opened up a huge opportunity. I've got 3 kids. Once the homeschooling was done, there was nothing else to do during the day. So I could then actually focus on what I'd been wanting to do for ages, which is, get fit. So I think it really does depend on, if you've got 3 young kids, if you've got, really bad financial worries, last thing you're going to be thinking about is, shall I go out and exercise? Your mental health is probably the most important thing. So, I would never denigrate anyone who didn't use the opportunity to do something, because we've all got our struggles. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Everyone has their struggles. It seems that some people went one way and some people went the other way. And, anyone can come back from it, whether, if you put on weight, so what,
Exactly.
If you were a little bit unhealthy as a result of lockdown, so what? You'll soon bounce back. People can bounce back very, very quickly.
Thank you for those kind words, because I will take that advice personally, because I put a little bit of timber on it over, initially in the first lockdown, because like many people, we treated it like an all-inclusive holiday, really. The weather was great. We spent a lot of time in the garden and we're enjoying ourselves. Right, so you're in your 50s.
Yep.
You're a personal trainer now. You're an evidence-based nutritionist, and you've got this UK hyperpressive training that you provide.
Yeah.
You've not always been a personal trainer though, have you?
No, I've not. I'm a kind of I've had a bit of a checkered past. Probably 18 to 28 is a bit of a haze. Didn't really do much. Wasted my life really. And it's one of the things I'm trying to get across to my kids at the moment. You know, if you're not going to go to university, get out and work at the age of 18. By the time you're 28, you pretty much know what you're doing, and you'll probably be financially secure. So I've always been playing catch up, because I discovered alcohol, women, and everything went down the pan really. And at about 26, I realized that my friends were well ahead of me. They were buying houses. I was bumming on people's floors and in and out of home before my parents moved away. And I suddenly decided I need to go to university. So I did an access course, but I really talked my way into a university place, and I did psychology, applied human psychology, Aston University in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. It was the only interview I got. I didn't really have the qualifications for it, but I kind of persuaded them that if I got there, I'd work hard and I would do okay. And that's really what happened. And when I came out, I wanted to be a clinical psychologist, but I was 32, and it meant more training. It meant some voluntary work, and I just needed to get earning some money. So I then sort of turned to, the things I like. Yep. Thought maybe I'll try and train to be a chiropractor or an osteopath. So I need a job that allows me to earn a bit of money, but I can have plenty of time to retrain. So I got a job reading newspapers overnight, summarizing stories. So it's a media monitoring business. So it provides information to PR companies and in-house corporate communications departments. And it's a startup company. I think there was only 8 people in it when I started. I couldn't type because I hadn't used my time at university to learn how to type properly. I'd handwritten everything. I couldn't type. Again, flagged my way through the interview, and they were just desperate for people. And I was literally going like that on the typewriter. And when I had the interview, I was set up like in this situation with a desk and here, and I had another desk with another keyboard over here if someone was working on. And my keyboard, there were like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 keys worn out. I didn't know what the letters were, so I had to keep going like this. It was ridiculous, the test I had. How I got the job, I don't know. But within 4 years, I was managing director, and then I spent 4 years as managing director, and it was really good. I learned a lot. I did some postgrad business qualifications at Oxford Brookes University as well. But ultimately, I fell out with the owner, who was owned by one individual. Unbeknown to me, he wanted to sell the company. He wanted me off the payroll. Wow. I didn't know that. at the time. And so we fell out. One day he put a compromise agreement in front of me, and I laughed and walked away. And I ended up with a year's wages, but I was worn out physically, mentally. I was totally worn out, very, very unfit, very overweight. I hit it well, but I was a complete mess. And
can I just jump in?
Yeah.
I was just about to ask that, and I wouldn't mind if you could elaborate on it a little bit. You said that. Well, actually, my question is what was your health like during that time?
Yeah, terrible. I used to get up at 4 o'clock every day, 4 o'clock to go to work. I'd be in the car by 4:20. I'd be at work by 5:15, and I wouldn't leave too late. I'd leave about 4:30, 5 o'clock. But by the time I was home, it was sort of 6:30, 7. I was driving into London, and I was in bed at 8, and I was just exhausted. And I would, the first 5 hours of my day were just 7 cups of coffee, probably, and then I'd be absolutely starving. I'd binge on something, and then I would have a big meal when I get home. It was just gradually. I'd stop at the garage on the way home, buy bags of sweets to keep me going. This is why I don't really judge. I never would judge people for, we talked about the lockdown. It's impossible to judge people. I've been there, and I didn't realize how unhealthy I was. I think I left the job in the June, and the March I had to get a new suit for a wedding, and I I've always been a 28 to 30 inch waist, and I was 36 inches. It was like, how did that happen? I had no idea. And I used to wear a suit every day. I always used to keep the jacket on. I used to wear, it's a bit of a joke with my partner. I used to wear this like compression vest, you know, underneath my shirt, because I put fat on in the chest and I put it on the stomach. And I got used to wearing it every single day. And because I was obviously consciously and sort of slightly subconsciously embarrassed of the condition I was in, but I just never had the time or the inclination to do anything. And when I did realize how unhealthy I was, my answer to that was, well, I'll get up at 3:30 and I'll go to a 24-hour gym in London beforehand. And that was a couple of months before I ended up leaving. So that didn't last long. But I would at the weekend, if I had time, I would go to the gym, lift some weights, but, thinking that was enough, and it wasn't. I was in a bad way. I was regularly ill, and just not a very healthy individual.
What was the pivotal point? What was the kind of landmark? This is enough now.
Well, I think going and getting that suit was probably the thing that started it. And that's when I thought, right, I need to do something about this. And I started the gym. But I also think when the kind of the conflict between my boss and I started, there was part of me that said, I need to get out of this. I need to get away from this environment. I need to get away from this lifestyle because it's killing me. And so I fought him rather than try to appease him or trying to negotiate with him. I've just fought him and dug my heels in and forcing him really to get rid of me. And then I used that money that I had. I virtually took a year off work. I didn't work for a whole year. And part of that was finding another position, but part of it was I can't do this anymore. I can't work. I need some time off. And it coincided with I think my oldest son was about 2. So it was lovely. I spent a lot of time with him, started going out for walks with him, and it was lovely. But it got to the point after a year, it was like, I really need to start earning some money again now.
Yeah.
But by that time, I got on top of my health.
Right. So we met in 2009.
Yep.
I was working over in Spain at the European Institute of Fitness as a tutor. Is that where this ties in now?
No, it was a couple of years later, actually, because what happened was eventually you do what you always do when you're looking for a job. You ask friends.
Yeah,
that's the best way to start. And by the time I was ready to work, I started putting feelers out. And one of my friends was had a golf wholesale business, and it just so happened he had fairly unreliable staff, and he needed someone in a bit relatively senior position to sort of oversee what was going on. And so he gave me a job for a couple of years, and I'd probably still be doing that now if it wasn't for the fact that 2008 recession hit, and he sold half the business and moved it to Manchester, and I didn't want to go to Manchester. So at that point it was, right, I'm not working for anybody else anymore. What can I do for myself that I enjoy? And health and fitness and training was something that had been a fairly constant in my life. And so I decided to retrain, and then I wanted to retrain somewhere that had a good reputation, and I wanted to do it fairly quickly. And as the IF had a 6-week course. It was in Spain, which was a bonus, and that actually really was a bonus because you just immerse yourself in the whole thing. And it's it's still one of the best experiences of my life, actually. People, the quality of the teaching. When I look back now, everything I've learned, all the courses I've been on, and you've done the same. The quality of the teaching was really good, and the people were great. I'm still in touch with people that I did the course with, and the whole immersive environment was wonderful.
Yeah, it was. It was a very special time in my life as well. But I think the key thing is that it gave people an opportunity that had never been engulfed or submerged in the fitness industry before, retraining, because a lot of people think that if you're in the fitness industry or you're a personal trainer, you've done it through college, through university, and that was just your natural step. But I think that there was a high percentage of the students that enrolled that were coming from completely different industries. Like I remember a woman who'd just been made redundant. I think she used to work for like a toilet tissue company. And I don't, she might have even been on your course. I don't know if this rings any bells, and she was like, this is
No.
I'm so out of depth here. But that's the thing, for 6 weeks, you had all these different walks of life coming in. It was a residential course. You were sharing accommodation. You were put in an environment that, even if you did feel that you knew a bit more about training and nutrition than someone else, you were all uncomfortable for the first few days.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very special place. It was a very special location. And yeah, it was just a great course.
Yeah, it was. And we had, on my cohort, we had a 17-year-old and a 51-year-old. I think I was 40 something at the time, mid 40s. And it was like, we all pretty much all got on. And there's some people on that cohort who've gone on to do really good things. I'm thinking of Tom in Scotland, and when Tom he didn't know anything.
No. The footballer.
No, the short Scottish guy. I can't think of his surname now.
Tom Leaf.
What's his? Yeah,
Tom Leaf. Yeah, I mean, still, he might be coming on the podcast.
Right. Well, Tom,
I've just got to find a mic that's low enough down for him.
He'll love that. Yeah, I mean, I remember sitting in classes thinking, he don't know anything, and now
he's gone on to do some exceptional stuff.
Yeah, and I think what that shows you is, if you find something that interests you, you find your niche, you find something that you can get passionate about, you don't have to be, and this is a great respect to Tom, you don't have to be the best educated person in the world. You will immerse yourself so much in that, you'll become incredibly knowledgeable. And you can absorb that knowledge because it's something you're interested in. And I met him, I met him on a Poliquin course. Not a course, it was a 2-day, I don't know, presentation, half of which was nonsense and half of which was really interesting. And which part of it was interesting. And he was on that because he has been a big follower of Poliquin stuff. But I've seen the training he does. I've listened to what he says, and he's he's really good. And he's not the only one on that. He's not the only one on that cohort who did well.
No. Just going back to Tom. Like I said, I want to get him on this podcast. Like I said, I'll get a mic that's low enough, but I also need to make sure that people don't listen back at like 1.5 speed, because you'd never understand him, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
Anyway, no, he's exactly that. He was someone who probably had a bit of training background, obviously been in the gym. That was where his passion came from, but his knowledge now is phenomenal. Yeah. He's up there, and his positioning of being a very, very good strength and conditioning coach is second to none. And obviously with Holicium or Holicium, however you pronounce it, doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to touch on, because there will be people out there that you've worked with that might be your personal training clients now, or might be my personal training clients now, who have got a interest in fitness, and they do read books and they do read blogs and they do follow people now that more people are, sharing information on social media and so on, that might be considering rerouting their career, but have been in their career for the last 10, 20, maybe even 30 years. What's your advice for someone that is considering rerouting to something as passionate about personal training?
Well, the first bit of advice would forget any idea that it's going to be easy, because it won't be easy. We talked about Tom just now. I mean, Tom's taken years to get to where he is. He's put a lot of time. He's spent a lot of money. He's done a lot of courses. He's had to really further his knowledge. And he's got you've had one. You've had a studio. It's not cheap to own and run and equip a studio. My advice would be, don't think that just your passion and your knowledge even will get you to where you want to go. You've got to be good at business as well. You've got to have, in these days, I think you've got to have some kind of social media savvy. You've got to be reasonably good with social media. It doesn't mean to say that you can't get where you want to go. It's just, you can outsource all of those things as well. Mm-hmm. But it all comes into play. I mean, Joe Wicks isn't the best trainer in the world, but he's the best, user of social media there is. And when you've got a £50,000 a month, allegedly, PR budget, you're going to be pretty good. You're going to be successful. So there are lots of things aside from the training that come into it. But ultimately, if you're passionate about something and you're prepared to work at it, you can succeed. You've got to have I think niching is quite a good thing. Finding a niche, finding what really, ticks the boxes for you, whether it be outdoor training, whether it be kettlebell training, whatever it might be, whatever turns you on, really. Finding that niche and really working that niche, I think is a good thing to do.
Were you nervous during the transition?
No, I wasn't really nervous. I probably overestimated my potential earning power and how easy it would be. I definitely overestimated that. But I started out with Fitness First. I did 6 months with Fitness First, and then I got quite fortunate in that a studio came up in the town that I grew up. She wanted to get out, and I didn't have to give her too much money. It was the building was already there, and it was in a great location. And so within 6 months, I was earning quite good money. Although there was money obviously involved in investing in the equipment and the building and stuff. And then I got unlucky in that it was a leased building, and the landlord took it back, gave me 6 months' notice, turned it into houses, and I could never find another venue. In fact, up until relatively recently, I was still looking for another venue. And then it became a little bit of a struggle for a while because I'm not good at marketing. It doesn't interest me. I can't stand it. I like the face-to-face, one-to-one contact of training. Mm-hmm. But I fell into hyper presses that bridged the gap, and I've kind of got by until about 5 or 6 years ago when I fell into the film industry.
I just want to ask you very quickly, just again, another opinion for someone who might look at rerouting. What's your thoughts on someone running personal training business alongside their current career so that they have time to build something up rather than the rabbit in a headlight approach, which is what a lot of people do. And, because it's easy to lead someone up the garden path a little bit and say, look, the only way you can really make a success is giving this full time or whatever. And I think, I'm not saying that we did this with everyone at EIF, but we were very much saying, look, write your business plan at the end of the 6-week course, present it back to us, go out, all guns blazing. We had a contract with Fitness First, like you said, off you go. Or now that you've experienced that yourself, would you say that someone would be better off if they could, career here, if you're watching on YouTube, I've got my hand at a certain height, and part-time here until you can maybe phase one in and phase one out?
I think that would be the way that I would have gone. Had I known what I know now, I think I probably would have gone that way. And I think what that allows, that buys you time as well. It buys you time to get comfortable doing what you're doing. It buys you time to understand how you can sell to people. It buys you time to get the knowledge that you really need. And fill any gaps that you might have in your knowledge, whether that be business or whether it be in training. Unless you've got a lot of money behind you, then it's probably the best way to go, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, having said that, do you remember what was Darren's phrase he used to use? Was it fire, ready, aim?
Ready, fire, aim.
Was it ready first though? Wasn't it fire first?
Either way, he didn't aim, did he?
No,
it was always fire. It was always fire, and then sort out where you're aiming afterwards.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Don't overthink it. Don't procrastinate too much. Get on with it. But I used to before I did my training, I used to look in job adverts and think, oh, job in Dubai, job in here. I could do that. Didn't have a qualification, So you've got to go and just you've got to take a leap of faith to a certain degree. In anything, especially when you retrain, you've got to take some kind of leap of faith. But you're not going to get anywhere unless you've got the qualification to start with. So get the qualification, and then you can start. Things will, if you're passionate about it, I think passion's not going to get you everywhere, but passion is important as long as you're sensible about it. You've got to get that qualification in place, and things will happen. You can make things happen. I'm a big fan of visualizing things and and creating opportunity from thought, and you can make things happen for yourself, but you won't do it unless you take steps. You got to do, there are certain steps you've got to take, and the first thing was to get a qualification.
Absolutely. I want to briefly touch on, we'll come back to your health in a minute.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your lads. You've got 3 boys. I know you have one lad who's a keen runner, but also a very, very good runner. So I want to, because a lot of people that I train, maybe people that you train are parents. And we live in a day and age now where it's a lot of social media, it's a lot of Xbox, it's PlayStation, it's not going out on your bike until the sun goes down, street lights come on, and then you come home. So I think that our childhood would be very different to a childhood now.
Sure.
What I'm trying to get at is, what would your thoughts or views be to get children more active? And how did you discover that your son has a talent for running?
Yeah, good questions. So I think to a degree, you got to lead by example. So, they've always seen me as, whether it be around the house training with weights or, running or whatever it might be, big keen interest in running, like spectating, keen interest in watching sport on the TV. I think some kids are just naturally drawn to physical activity. And the difficulty is when you have kids who aren't drawn towards physical activity, because some people, what it's like with PE at school, some kid always forgot his shorts because he didn't want to do it, and others were just, that was what they lived for. I mean, that was me. I lived for the PE lessons, I wanted to go out and kick a ball or whatever it might be.
If I forgot my shorts for PE, the teacher used to make you just do it in your pants.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you used to have to do PE
absolutely.
Pants and vest.
Yeah, that was like Kes days. So I think leading by example was the first thing, taking an interest. And if they're showing any interest in something and encouraging that. So, my passion for sport is running, but had he decided it was swimming, I would have taken him swimming. If he decided it was volleyball, he would have gone down the volleyball route. He loved football, the oldest one. And he did run the football and the running alongside each other for a little bit, but he made the decision that he didn't want to get injured playing football because it would affect his running. How did he become good at running? How did he show an interest in running? He came out with me initially, and then he did a little fun run thing. And I think he did it with me, did a fun run, but, being a kid, he was quite competitive. And I think, I don't know what he came. I think he was second. He was only 11. It was a 5K thing. And of course he got no, he wasn't second. He was about 5th. But, kids of all age groups, but he got grandparents congratulate him. He's got his mum and dad bigging him up. And a funny thing about that was, he beat me just, I kind of let him, but not really. He had a little bit left. I didn't. And I got a big trophy because I was the first man. But he got nothing because he was 5th kid. So he was really annoyed about that. But, so he got some feedback. He got some positive feedback, and it created that positive feedback loop. And then he was like, "Oh, I quite like this, and I want to do running, Dad." Okay, fine. So what do I do with him? I'm not, at the time I wasn't qualified necessarily to coach him. So I picked up the phone I hadn't spoken to him for 35 years. I picked up the phone to my old running coach, who I knew was still alive. He was 81, something like that, 82. And phoned him up. And because my brother was still in contact with him, said, "Hi, do you remember me?" And he said, "Yeah, I remember you. How can I help you?" I said, "I've got a boy, 12 years old, wants to run. Can he come and join you?" And he had a squad of athletes about 40 minutes away from where we live. And so I took him every Tuesday and Saturday for up to lockdown. It was really good having him, because I, as a parent, the hardest thing is to not get involved in your kids' sport, like be able to step away slightly and let a professional deal with it. Mm-hmm. And, many times it's been a real learning curve, actually. It's been a very, very interesting learning curve watching someone else coach him, because it hasn't been an easy route for him. It started off easy, started off great. He was 12 years old. He got he got better and better with each race. But always so you look at two things with kids when they're runners. You look at their training age, so how long have they been training, and you look at their physical development. So he hadn't been training very long. There were some kids at 12 who've been running for 3 years. He started relatively late because they start often in primary schools. He started in first year of secondary school, but physically he was very small, very small. I mean, you know me, I'm not big. He was one of the smallest in the school, very skinny, and he's running against kids taller than me, 13 years of age. It's ridiculous. And physically, much broader shoulders, bigger legs, longer strides. So he was where I thought, he was good enough for where his physical development and his running development was. And so he got to the under 15s and he came 30th in the national cross country, 10 seconds off being 19th, and I think 20 seconds off being in the top 10. Again, still very small, still, relatively low development age. And so it looked like he was going to go on and do some really good things. And then it's been from 15 to 17, it's been a nightmare because he's had physical problems. So he had low ferritin levels, which suggests an iron problem. And he just became incredibly inconsistent. And actually looking back, what it probably was what they call relative energy deficiency. So not enough energy to do the running as well as grow and function. So I ended up taking him to a hematologist and spending money on that. And really just needed to eat more. He needs to eat more and do probably a little bit less running. And so he's now 17 years old and he's coming out the other side. Lockdown's been amazing for him because in March, all the racing stopped. So that all the pressure stopped. There's no pressure anymore because that's where the pressure lies, in the racing, not in the training. And he has for a whole year nearly, he has gone out 6 or 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. On the odd days, he'll do twice a day. And with nothing to look forward to, no goal there because there are no races. But he's kept the discipline going. Yeah. And, I got huge respect and admiration. I mean, he's a lazy little sod most of the time. But to be able to get that discipline to do that, and, he's doing he's up to 65 miles a week. And everything seems like it's resolved itself. We'll never know until we start this anaerobic phase of training where, it's a lot more difficult physically. He's doing a lot of aerobic work at the moment. But yeah, just going back to your, the original question, I think showing by example and then encouraging wherever they want to go, even if it's not a sport that you necessarily. My brother had a county swimmer. His daughter was a county swimmer. I can't think of a worse sport to be involved in than swimming because it's up at 5 o'clock into pools for an hour and then back again in the evenings. And it's just horrendous sport to be involved in. But he did it for years and years and years. And his other child is a county badminton player. So that's a little bit better. But again, sports that wouldn't have interested me, but had they wanted to go down that route, I would have gone down that route. So it's just let the child take you where they want to go. And also, I think it's quite important, although Louis hasn't really done this, I think it's quite important that they have a broad spectrum of sports to be involved in because you never know what they're going to be good at. It might seem that he's a great runner, but could he be a better cyclist? Could he be better, whatever it might be? Could he be a better fencer? But you've got to go with, he was very good at martial arts, really good at martial arts. He's got that 70-year-old teenage thing where they become quite conscious of their bodies. And so now he's, he comes downstairs, he's on the bloody pull-up bar I've got between two doors all the time. He's squaring up.
You sound like you're a little bit jealous that he could possibly do more pull-ups than you.
He can't.
You're keeping him on his toes. I just want to mention one thing that I think is a key point, and that's the fact that a lot of parents will probably feel that they should fit the norm when it comes to exercise selection and sports selection for their children. Rugby, football clubs, tennis. And I remember reading something, I don't know how accurate it truly was, but it was talking about financial cost of sports. And that's why a lot of parents will take their child to that sport rather than for what they're maybe more capable of doing. I'm not saying any sport's cheap to start, but buying a a pair of football boots, some shin pads. You'll probably get a kit loaned to you by the team. That's more affordable than getting your son or daughter into golf, for example, which golf clubs are, £500 to £1,000 for a set. So you would make a financial decision. You'd go, even if the child absolutely loved watching golf at weekends, Tiger Woods fanatic, whatever, the parent might be forced to have their hand towards a more affordable sport. Because, you mentioned cycling, you mentioned swimming, you mentioned badminton, and you mentioned fencing. And they're probably quite a few sports that don't get consideration.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, I guess you're initially driven by what your child takes an interest in, and if kind of fencing is not on the radar, he's not going to. I mean, I don't know how a child would get involved in fencing. I guess influences around them, parents. They might go to public school, for example.
Sword fighting in the garden, probably.
Yeah, maybe. So I mean, I've been very fortunate in that they gravitated towards. Well, having said that, I've got the middle one who was he could have been quite a decent runner, and he loves cycling and jump biking, and he's actually started to take an interest in F1, watching F1 and watching programs about F1, and I'm thinking, oh geez, don't go down that route. Number one, I'm not a fan, and number two is like, oh, that's going to cost a fortune.
Could be lucrative long term though.
Yeah, well, look, Lewis Hamilton's a prime example of if you don't have to come from a wealthy background necessarily. If you've got some talent for it and your parents are prepared to make a bit of sacrifice, then anything can happen.
I want to wrap that part of the conversation up. I think that's very key, and I appreciate your input on that. I think it's probably going to get a few light bulbs going with some parents listening.
One of the things I would say, just to close on that, is that if they get involved in the sport, certainly when they're younger, try and step away and let the professional coach in that sport deal with them. Because I've seen some parents who are really good at that. And I've seen some parents for whom kids have dropped out of the sport because the pressure that comes from the parents is so great that they just don't want to do it anymore. And I'll be honest, I probably got my son close to that. But it wasn't because I wanted the best for him, and I was frustrated that things weren't happening for him. And ultimately, I always had his coach George to fall back on. And when I couldn't deal with him anymore, I used to say, George, can you speak to him? And he was great and motivating. This is an 86-year-old now who's had 110 international athletes.
Wow.
Yeah. So he knows what he's doing. So there is experience in these sports. Just step away and let them deal with it.
Yeah, and I think I haven't got there yet. I haven't got to that age with my son yet, but I'm sure that there will be a time when I'm a bit like, just bite your tongue, Lee. Let them.
Yeah.
Just going back to it then. So you've retrained as a personal trainer back in 2009. You entered the mid 2000s, so 2006, 2007, starting training, looking after your health. When you became a personal trainer, did your health match the job title, or did you still have the same habits as before, or did you have a new insight to lifestyle design?
It didn't match, but it was getting there. I think actually the catalyst for that was EIF, the European Institute of Fitness, and spending the time there. And I lost a fair bit of weight when I was there. Started to eat quite healthy when I was there as well. Drank a lot more water, felt a lot better, and sunshine always helps. And so I kind of came away from there with lessons that I could take going forward. And obviously, when you get back home, reality sets in, and you don't always integrate those lessons into your life. But I knew what I was supposed to be doing, and also I felt that there was necessary to you're on the gym floor, you're competing with other PTs for business, and it was important to sort of start to look the part a little bit as well. And so it became important to train more, it became important to eat better, but there were still gaps in my knowledge really to overcome some of the health conditions that probably I was suffering from and just accepted as part of life.
Right. Okay. I want to touch on that. I said to you at the start before we even press record that this conversation will go off on tangents, but do you think that personal trainers are expected to look a certain way, or do you believe that there should be an acceptance that you can be out of shape, not in as good condition, or, you know, have it up here, the knowledge, the ability to coach without having the aesthetics to match?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's one I've mulled over in my head quite a lot. I think what happens is if you take the view that PTs need to be in shape and look good aesthetically, we end up in the situation we're in now, where Instagram rules, and the best looking and, you know, the most muscled, you know, the most chiseled person on Instagram is the one with the most followers and doing the best. And that's wrong, because it's all about knowledge. It should be about knowledge, and it should be about how you're able to converse with people, how you're able to interact with them. So if you take it all the way in that direction, that's wrong. But equally, I'm not sure that having, you know, a very overweight trainer sends the best signals to a client. You've got, I think to a certain degree, you have to be able to say, I want you to do it, and I know you can do it because I've done it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no one, you know, no one is, yeah, we've got, you know, we've all got genetics, but, you know, I'm never going to have the broadest shoulders. I'm never going to be, you know, I'm never going to be the most muscular person, you know, in the world, because I don't really have the genetics. I'm kind of like slow twitch fibers. Having said that, there's no reason I can't get in really good shape. There's no reason I can't be lean. I shouldn't really be carrying body fat. You know, carrying body fat isn't healthy. You know, when we look at the correlators with health, you know, being the correct body weight is number one. Correct body weight and strength. They're the two correlators for longevity. And so I don't think you have to be in the best shape, but I don't think you can be too out of shape. We're all a work in progress. You know, there've been times that I'm in reasonable shape at the moment, but there are times when, you know, I've gone to train people and I've kept jackets on, and I've kept, you know, tops on. I haven't been in t-shirts because I've been in, you know, I've got a little bit of a paunch or whatever. Like, don't need to do that at the moment, but I have been. So knowledge is the number one thing, but you've got to have confidence in your trainer that they know what they're talking about. And the biggest confidence you can give them is to look good, because it says I can do it. Having said that, interestingly, when I was at Fitness First, the most busy and successful trainer was the most overweight.
So I was just about to throw a spanner in there and say, okay, so you're in good shape, but what if you've never got a client in good shape? That to me is red
I think if you've never got a
for
client
not being
in good
able to
shape,
communicate.
Yeah,
because
well,
you can do it yourself.
It's knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see what I mean? And I totally agree with you, what you're saying about social media. You go on Instagram now, and this is another thing. This is this whole perception of what a personal trainer should look like, because you've seen one cover of Men's Magazine or Fitness, whatever. You've seen on Instagram some guy that's injecting himself with steroids and he's in immaculate condition, but they don't know the truth behind it. So they have this kind of idea that, oh, my personal trainer should be ripped. He should have bulging muscles, or she should have bulging muscles. She should have a bum at this size or whatever. So because even by me saying that to you now, and the people that are listening, they will have an image in their head of what a personal trainer should look like. And it will be 6-pack, tanned, well chiseled face, hair styled up, which I can never do. But do you see what I mean? Like, they will have an image that comes to them. They won't automatically think of someone who's at the other end of the spectrum, possibly carrying a few extra pounds that they shouldn't, etc., high body fat percentage. But like you say, I also remember a guy, ironically, back in Fitness First, when I used to work at Fitness First prior to going to EIF, a guy, personal trainer, very busy, very, very big. I'm talking like Eddie Hall big. But he could get every person he worked with in incredible shape. But
yeah,
let's remove this whole shape thing. He could get everybody happier.
Yeah.
He had this ability to transform people, to, you know, build their confidence, build their self-esteem, build the way they looked at themselves, their outlook on life. They were making healthier choices. They were enjoying their training. They weren't on broccoli, chicken and rice 3 times a day, whatever, you know. And he was if you were to line up personal trainers in front of you, he was probably the last person you would pick.
Yeah. Well, I've thought about a couple of things as we've been talking. Some people don't want to get in shape. Some trainers don't. Some people, for them, they're not bothered whether they've got a six pack or, you know, they're muscular. Well, they don't care. So why should we be judging them in that respect? And also, what's the most important thing? The most important thing is knowledge and results. So if I was to choose my own trainer, I'd be interested in, I couldn't care less what somebody looked like personally. I would want to know, show me your results. Show me your testimonials. Give me some examples of clients that you've worked with who've got the same goal as me, and tell me the journey that you got them from A to B. That's all that matters as far as I'm concerned. But I'd rather have the overweight, out of shape, knowledgeable than the Instagram, the Instagram fitty, because image, this is part of the problem we got in culture, social media and culture at the moment is everyone thinks that everyone thinks they need to be ripped. And
I think it's one of the only industries really that has a physical aesthetic stereotype that goes with it. So for example, you say about the result, and we're going to go off on a tangent. We've got a lot to fit in the next 20 minutes. Your gas man comes around to fix your boiler. Don't care what shape is in. You want your boiler fixed. That's the result. You buy a personal trainer, or you hire a personal trainer, or you invest in a coaching course. You want the results. There's no. I would put money on it. Not much, but I'd put money on it that there's not many other industries at all, if any, that require an aesthetic appearance to give you the result that may or may not happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredibly narcissistic industry, isn't it? Let's face it. And it does attract some of the wrong people into it, without a doubt. But it also attracts some really, there are, for every, 10 terrible trainers out there, there's some really good trainers as well. I've met some really decent trainers, and the difference as soon as you start working with somebody. But there's some I call them exercise prescribers. They know some exercises, they put them together in whatever pattern they put them together in ever random. It's not even a pattern, but in a random form they put them together in, and they think, oh, this is good for this is good for that. And you get clients asking me that, don't you? Sam, what's good for my hamstrings? So I've got very mixed feelings about the industry, full stop. That's not an industry I particularly want to be in, if I'm really honest with you. It's not a nice industry, I don't think, but there are some really good people in it, some really good people, and some really good people who have such positive effect on your health and your fitness over a long time. And I've met some of them, so it's been, and I consider like EIF in that bracket. I know they're training providers and they ought to be like that, but they're pretty poor training providers as well. So
I echo pretty much what you say there. I know we've had conversations off camera and off being recorded. There has been times, I mean, I've been in this industry now for 16 years, and there have been times in more recent years, and it's probably because of the increase of social media presence, and because it's like now you don't just compare. I mean, I always say comparisons are fee for joy anyway. So, but now you don't just compare yourself to, like I said, comparisons are fee for joy. You should only ever compare yourself to yourself, right? But there's nothing wrong with looking at someone and aspiring to be better, or you're looking at someone and gaining a bit of inspiration, a bit of motivation from them, drawing a little bit of energy from them. Whereas, back in the day, when I say back in the day, let's talk grandparents and stuff like that. The only people they could draw that from was people within their local community. Yeah, so in their village, their town, their city, or whatever, and it was usually within their social circle. So you could probably say that you knew 100 people. Yeah, and I'm saying that's tops. Whereas now you don't know people, but you're instantly via social media connected with millions upon millions. Let's talk thousands. The average person follows about 3,500 people on like Instagram or something along those lines. So you're not just comparing your physique with someone in your local community anymore. You're not drawing inspiration from someone who's doing quite well in your village. You're drawing inspiration or comparing yourself, which shouldn't be happening, to someone in Los Angeles, for example, when I live in Nottingham. You know, and I've got no reason to use him as a comparative. So I know we'll talk about this very, very quickly, but I know that you've pulled yourself off social media for various reasons. But going back to it, in the last, I would say probably about 3 years ago, I had a really bad patch where I was just like, I don't know if this industry is for me anymore. You know, I absolutely love working with people. I can't stress it enough, and hopefully it comes across with how I work with the Paramount Fitness members, my clients, so to speak. They mean everything to me, and I will give them every last ounce of my effort and energy and time or whatever. But when you're in an industry that's, like you said, so unfortunately becoming a bit diluted with poor quality versus good quality, it's very hard to the good quality is now the needle in the haystack.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. I mean, just going to you, I mean, you've got the quality that's most important in the industry, which is to be good with people, you know, to be able to converse with them as individuals, in groups, and to give them confidence, and to guide them. And you could probably do that in any other industry. You could probably be a great salesman somewhere, yeah. But what's better than, I mean, the lives that you can impact, and not any number of lives, but the things you can get people, you know, you can literally just change people's lives, you know, with a different way of thinking, and just improving somebody's health and their fitness will change their life. It will do. And that's probably why I've stuck at it, you know, despite, you know, wanting to get out on numerous occasions. And that's why I definitely stick with the hyperpressors, because none of this is easy. It's not easy to get clients. It's not easy to maintain them. And also, you know, with a great respect to those listening out there, clients can be flaky. You know, you might be committed, but they're not always committed. And they make the right noises. But really their commitment often is not as great as yours. When their commitment is as great as yours, things happen, you know, amazing things happen.
Yeah, and, like a force to be reckoned with, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like I said, if it wasn't for who I was working with at the time, and I was quite fortunate, I had a personal training studio, as you mentioned, with great members, with great community. I had to stop myself worrying about what everyone else in the industry was doing, where the industry was going with all these fad diets and teas coming out and all of these things that were basically making a mockery of what good coaches were trying to do. And I'm super proud that I've stuck with it, because now I'm at the moment, considering it's lockdown and considering in March of 2020 I actually closed my gym. Things are brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and
that's really good.
I've stuck it out.
I think one of the maybe I don't know if you want to end this section on, but one of the biggest issues with this industry is misinformation. So there's so much misinformation, because there's too much information generally about health and about nutrition, about fitness. People don't really know where to go anymore, you know. And so you can be telling somebody all the right stuff, and then they'll go, yeah, I read this thing in the newspaper about intermittent fasting, and it's the only way to go, basically, so I'm going to try that. It's like, okay, you know, and you take a deep breath and you try and explain. But, you know, people are influenced all over the place, social media, and, you know, well, mostly social media and in news outlets, you know, and it's tough, because like I said previously, when people take your advice and they buy into it, amazing things happen. But they don't always do that. And that can be the frustration of the industry, I think, in the business.
I think, just to wrap this section up, I think the reason why that happens is because we don't have a true license or governing body that if you were to give out misinformation, you'd be stripped of your license. Like if you're a doctor and you prescribe the wrong thing or you give the wrong information, your client or your patient falls ill or whatever, that's it, your license gets taken. Whereas personal training industry, I mean, I don't know them, but I see personal trainers, or I see, let's start that again. I see people on social media selling workout plans and nutrition guides. They're not even qualified.
Yeah.
You know, I do now know that more and more people are calling people out, and there have been some law cases and some settlements in America where people have been sued for thousands, possibly even millions, for mis-selling. You know, that's a different story altogether. But we don't get, I mean, I like to be squeaky clean. Yeah, you're a personal trainer, evidence-based nutritionist. The prime word there, evidence. Yeah. Factual. I know the course provider you went through, if you weren't adequately knowledgeable and you didn't pass the test, they wouldn't pass you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have gained that license. You obviously now have your best interest of your clients, the people you work with, to give the best information that's evidence-based. You're not thinking, oh, you know what, I could become an affiliate link of this company to make this amount of money and sell this product, which is then going to make me loads of money. But because what should happen is if you are a personal trainer, you are an evidence-based nutritionist. If you were to get caught out selling something unlawfully, in my opinion, you should be stripped of your title.
Yeah, I agree.
And you shouldn't be able to practice. And it would probably be that way in any other industry you look at. Well,
if we had a governing body that, introduced some kind of legislation, some kind of exam, we could get rid of 3/4 of the trainers overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them
because they just don't know what the
exam.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Right. 2 things I want to touch on.
Go.
We've got 20 minutes to do it. I said that probably 20 minutes ago. You came off social media. That's one thing.
Yeah.
I want to know the mental implications of that, the whys, the hows, the whens, the lot, and how it's really made a difference to you. And I'm not talking about on a business level. I'm just talking on a personal mental health level. And then lastly, I want to talk about where you're at now. I want to know a little bit about this film industry you're currently providing your services in, and obviously a little bit about UK Hyperpressive as well.
Okay, so coming off social media, probably one of the best things I've ever done. I didn't think it would be. I didn't think I'd last, to be quite honest. I was a bit of a Facebook addict, I think, not necessarily posting, but just trawling. And I think we've been, in this country at least, we've been subjected to sort of some fairly divisive issues recently. So we had Brexit, obviously, and we all got our own opinions on that. And as far as I'm concerned, my opinion is my opinion. It's none of your business, but plenty of people wanted to tell me their opinion. And if it's difficult, if it conflicts with your opinion, you start to think about people differently. And then, all the arguments that were involved in that. And then, of course, as soon as this started, and then we've got the whole COVID thing, and then we've got the whole vaccination implications, and it's just more conflict, and then people saying, if you don't believe in this, I'm gonna unfriend you. Just thought, what am I doing on here? So I had that part. I also had the whole thing we've discussed already was the Instagram influencers and fitness builders and stuff like that. And it's just like, I'm so bored of this. I don't, there was that. And then there was the example to my kids. So sat in the the lounge at night, constantly like this, on my phone, and I'm saying to them, get off your phone. What are you doing on your phone? And they're saying, well, you're on yours. And I was only on it because I was, checking in bored because, and also it's, I know there's lots of science behind this, but I was getting to the point where I couldn't watch a TV program or anything without get to a boring bit of dialogue, and I'm like this. It's like, what's that about? You know? And I stopped reading. I wasn't reading anymore. It was just getting ridiculous. And so I think COVID was the final straw in that I knew that there was going to be lots of conflict out there, and I just had enough of it. And very fortunate in that my partner runs all the social media for UK Hyperpressive, so I didn't need to be on there for that. In fact, we've outsourced some of that now, provide content, and they manage it all. And so there's absolutely no need for me to be on social media. I've got friends on there. The only thing I miss is not knowing what's going on in people's lives. Are they okay? Is someone fallen over? Has someone done something good? I miss that. Finding out.
Yeah.
But your close friends, you're going to find out anyway.
Yeah.
It's the periphery friends, as you and I are like, it's been 6-7 years since we've seen each other, 8 years maybe. Nice to know you going out for a run. I was looking at your runs, it was nice. But can I survive without it? Yeah, of course I can.
Can you really though? my running speed.
I want you to text me next time you go out to run.
No worries.
So yeah, it's been really good for my mental health. And I did think the other thing I got involved with, ridiculous as a 56-year-old man, TikTok. I got it. I was addicted to TikTok. Because they're short videos, and there were kids told me about TikTok, and I just thought, oh, what's this rubbish? And I was like, all of a sudden, I'm like that. It's like, what's the next video? And so I got to the point where I just said, this is ridiculous. Grow up, get off social media, and it's been one of the best things I've done.
I put my hands up because this morning on Facebook, so I went through a stage of sharing a little bit on my personal Facebook page. We did to help us this year, particularly with lockdown, we decided to do like an A to Z challenge. So every weekend we had a new letter. So we went to Attenborough Nature Reserve, which is a nice little nature reserve in Nottingham. B, we had barbecue, beers, etc. C, we went camping, and we went through like that. So I was sharing that, okay? And then we got to lockdown, proper lockdown, which is when you had to like stay within your local village and you shouldn't have really been driving out. And it was like, we got to R, and there's a park 5 miles away called Rushcliffe Country Park. And we're like, we want to go there because it's R, but it's only 5 miles. It's a bit, by the time people are listening to this, they might be going, God, why didn't you drive 5 miles? Because we were only going to drive 5 miles to walk the same walk that we can do around our local village and do it from our doorstep. So we were just like, look, you know what? Majority of this A to Z thing can just be put on hold for a while. Yeah. So I post on social media primarily for business. Okay.
Yeah.
I have my private members group. I'm fairly active in there because they're like-minded people. Yeah, they're going to have opinions, but the opinions that they put in the Facebook group are based on facts, training, nutrition, and they're all, it's the same. It's a non-Brexit zone. It's a non-COVID zone. It's how's your training been? It's all motivational. It's all very encouraging. But I have to put my hands up. I did attempt 4 or 5 TikToks probably about a year ago, and one of them came up on my timeline this morning and I shared it. So yeah, I put my hand up. I fell in that trap as well. And it's interesting though, because these social media platforms are they're carefully designed, algorithms, everything, color, a lot, to get you addicted.
Yeah.
Addicted, sorry. They're there to have you scroll back through. And I did a video of this on my Facebook business page the other day, talking about the average person will scroll the height of the Statue of Liberty every day.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, the worrying thing for me is it's the constant battle with the kids, because, it's so difficult to, when you have kids, you say, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to allow them to do this. I'm not going to allow them to do that. And it's so difficult to do. It really is. And they spend way too much time on their devices, offset by running, offset by physical activity. But nevertheless, you look at them and think, I was your age, I was out. I just went out. I read a book, and I was much the better for it. What have you done? You've watched some bloke, have a, bottle of water thrown over his head or whatever it might be, It's just a bit soul destroying at times, but, it's a generational thing as well. I'm sure a lot of the stuff that we did as kids, our parents looked at and thought, what the hell are they doing? Yeah,
of course. So just interestingly, what has changed in your mental health since coming off social media?
I get triggered quite easily, and I'm quite, although you've probably never really seen the side of me, I'm quite, not aggressive, but argumentative. So I was getting triggered the whole time on Facebook. Things people saying, arguments, And so, and I can't, I'm not the kind of person who switches off either. So, you know, even with the business, high progressive business, you get some ridiculous comments, and then you go back to them and they come back. It's just people trolling you, you know. But you know, I think of it as I still have that, you know, it's a visceral thing. It's like a physical threat, and so I can't switch off from that. So I'll be lying in bed, turning over the conversations and the arguments, and then thinking what I can say next. And it's like, what the fuck am I doing? It's just a troll. It's just somebody with a different opinion. And so coming off, stop that overnight. Completely done, finished. And now on the UK High Progressive page, we still have that. And Nikki was involved in replying. And now we just ignore it.
Did you have a period of time where you got the shakes? You know, withdrawal symptoms?
No, I didn't. No, actually.
Did you not?
I thought I would, but I'm quite good at, once I make my mind up to do something, I just do it, and I just get on with it. So, you know, I can be a terrible procrastinator in terms of getting on with stuff, but once I've made my mind up to do something, it's done. So, you know, like, for example, I do the whole year of no wheat, no dairy, no alcohol, no caffeine, no whatever, for what reason I don't know, but I made a decision on day one, and that was it, done. Year finished.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm able to do that. So there wasn't the withdrawal. I thought it would get to about 2 or 3 weeks and I'd want to go back. And I think once I got past 2 or 3 weeks, I wasn't even thinking about it anymore. I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, whereas it was always that button.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I remember the last time that there was 2 times that I had kind of like a light bulb moment when I was like, what am I doing? And one was 2019. We'd just been on a family holiday to Mallorca. Phones were off. Fully like submerged ourselves in this holiday. Landed back at I believe it was East Midlands Airport. Logged my phone on as you're waiting to go through passport control. Look at Facebook. You scroll through and you go, haven't missed anything. Haven't missed anything. If I can go without it for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, and you come back, you scroll through and you go, not missed anything that's directly going to impact me. Like you say, if your close friends have got some news, someone's fallen over, someone's had a baby, whatever, you're going to find out about it.
Yeah.
And then also recently, I've been starting getting up at 4:30, 5 in the morning, primarily because in the day, don't get much work done, homeschooling, busy house, lots of interruptions, lots of other things to do to help the day-to-day of the house. So I was like, right, I'm going to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, start work, and at least get 2 to 3 hours of solid work done before anyone else wakes up. Worst case scenario, people wake up at 7, I get 2.5 hours work. Best case scenario, they don't wake up till about 8, I've got a little bit longer. Yeah, so that's the only reason I've done it. Plus, I'm super productive first thing in the morning or last thing at night. Okay. Really terrible in the day. Really terrible to get myself going in the day. It takes me a lot. And it was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, I was in the shower and I was like, it was about 8:30 and I was like, right, Lee, gonna go to bed straight after this. Just go straight to bed. And the first thought was to check my phone before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I said to myself in the shower, I said, whatever you do, just turn your phone down. Don't even take it into the bedroom. Just turn your phone down and go to bed. And the only thing that the words I said in my head were, whatever you're going to check now, Lee, you're going to see in the morning if you want to check it then anyway. You know, YouTube, stuff's on there forever. Twitter, apparently it lasts up for 18 hours before you don't see it again. Facebook, 6 hours. Instagram, I think, is maybe shorter. But majority of like stories and stuff like that people watch, they've got a 24-hour life on it. But you're checking them all the time. Whereas you could actually be better off just going, right, this is my hour or this is my half hour, and setting yourself time and going, this is when I'm going to check my social media. And then the rest of the time I can do whatever I want with it. Yeah,
no, I think that's if you are going to stay on it, if you are going to do it, then allotting time to it is a really good way of going about it, I think.
Yeah, so at night now, that's it. 9 o'clock, whenever I'm going to bed, don't look at social media because whatever's there in the morning. And also I've become quite strict with not allowing myself to look at social media until I've done my core values in the morning. My advice would be just get off it. I mean, I know that's difficult. That'd be difficult for you to do because you use it for business. But you know, anyone else, just get off it. They're just trying to sell you something. You know, the other thing that really sort of worried me slightly is, you know, I'd be looking up, I don't know, new pair of running shoes, and then up on Facebook would pop running shoe adverts. It's like, nah, time to get off. The weird one though is, even it's in my head. Well, I hope it's in my head. but I'd think about things.
No, I don't.
And then it would be there. And that's when it bothers me. Like I was training yesterday. I've got like a setup in my garden now. And I was training yesterday. And I thought about somebody who I hadn't seen on social media for a while. Yesterday afternoon, opened Instagram, first person I saw.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh no, what's going on? And they're worrying about the vaccine. Anyway, that's a different topic. We won't get into that.
No, let's not.
Last thing then. Go back to your business now, and you mentioned that you were working in the film industry.
Yeah.
And UK hyper-progressive, please.
Okay, so the film industry stuff was pure luck. I've got the guy I worked within the golf business. You know, he knew I was a trainer, but being the kind of person he was, I hadn't been training very long. I hadn't been qualified very long, but being the kind of trainer he was, he Googled Daniel Craig's trainer, and he came up with Simon Waterson, who's Daniel Craig's trainer, and he happened to live within sort of 10 miles of him. So he started training with him. So, you know, to get himself fit. And I don't think Simon really wanted to do it because he wasn't really taking on any clients, but my friend is quite persuasive, and he trained with him. So he mentioned to me one day, my friend mentioned to me one day that Simon can never get people to work with him because, you know, the industry's quite secretive. You've got to be a certain type of person really to get in there. And I said, well, why don't you give him my number? So he did. He gave him my number, and about 9 months later, he called me. And then about 3 months later, we met for a cup of coffee. About another year later, he rang me again. And then about another 6 months later, he rang me one day and said, I've got a job for you. Can you do tomorrow morning at a hotel in Richmond? It was for Guardians of the Galaxy. It's one of the actors had flown in, and they were just doing pre-production. And I think he was testing me because it was short notice. It was a Saturday, which, you know, I don't particularly like working weekends if I can avoid it. And so I turned up, and then from that I got the whole cast of the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Not reflected in the credits, I hasten to add, because Simon got the credit for it, although he never trained a single person, but he got me the work. And that often happens, to be quite honest with you, and I've kind of got over that now. And it's gone from there. So I've worked, you know, with some pretty high profile clients in the UK and worldwide, and you know, I've been lucky enough to work in Rome and Los Angeles, and it's going from strength to strength because Marvel and Star Wars, Disney have committed to 20 films in the UK over the next 10 years, and that's, you know, mostly what we're involved in at the moment, mostly those productions. So I went on to do Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch, and he's kind of become one of my clients. And I've trained him in between Marvel films for, you know, various other stuff that he's done, and then, you know, other American actors and stuff like that. And I'm on Doctor Strange 2 at the moment, which I don't think is any great secret because, you know, people know it's being produced halfway through filming. And yeah, although it was lucky, you do have to be a certain kind of person to be able to stay in the industry. And the first thing you need is to not be overawed by who you're working with. To be, you know, and I'm really not, you know. People do say to me, "Oh, who are you working with?" And I go, "Oh, I don't know, I can't remember what they're called," you know. And I literally can't often really remember who they are, what they've done. You know, it really has no consequence to me whatsoever. But you also got to be able to, you know, you've got to be able to communicate. Very important. You've got to be able to be fairly discreet. You know, it's, you know, again, I mentioned Benedict's name because, you know, it's well known that, you know, he isn't secretive about me training him, and vice versa. So, and you got to be patient because it's a industry that's ever changing. You know, you said to me, how do you live? Because I said to you, I don't know what I'm doing. Literally, don't know what I'm doing until about 8 o'clock the night before.
It's taken me, just for context of that, it's taken me about 4-5 weeks maybe longer, to get a date set with Richard to come on this podcast.
And this could easily have been cancelled, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
It could have been. I could have rung you this morning and go, sorry, Lee, I've got to go to work.
Yeah, of course. And I would have respected that. But I think I've been peppering you for about 4 or 5 weeks, and we only put this in the diary on Tuesday, and it's now Thursday.
Yeah.
And like you said, there would always be a chance that you'd have to cancel.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very lucky. It's an interesting industry to work in. It's not all it's cracked up to be in terms of the glamour. It's certainly not glamorous if you're an actor and your pickup's 5 o'clock in the morning. You're not home till 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you're hanging around a lot of the time. You're often, uncomfortable costume and blah blah blah. It's not the life people think it is. But my work is relatively easy. I do have the odd crisis where, for example, I trained someone recently for a TV production, second series. I did the first series with him, and I said to him, "What kind of shape are you in?" I think we were 10 weeks out, 12 weeks out maybe. What kind of shape are you in? He said, I think I'm in pretty decent shape. Yeah, but about what I was last time. I think he ended up last time at something like 86 kilos, quite a big guy, tall guy. Turned up, weighed him, 110 kilos. 110 kilos, and we got through 3 months. So it's like, thanks for that. So you do get that occasionally, but most of the time it's someone like Benedict, for example, is people think of him as being quite geeky and nerdy. He's an athlete. He's in good shape and he's very physically capable, and so he keeps himself in pretty good nick most of the year. And so my job, although most people think my job is an aesthetic kind of job, it's not. It's about making sure that they can do their job, which involves stunts, and the long filming schedule, and just making sure they're fit and healthy to do that job. And the aesthetic is often a bonus. I mean, he's got a shirtless scene in this one, so we did have to concentrate a little bit more on the aesthetic. But yeah, it's interesting work with men and women. But it's a different world, they are a different breed.
Okay, that's my question. That was my personal question, which I'm sure someone who's possibly listening in might have the same question. Is can you summarize the biggest noticeable difference, if there is one at all, between the mentality of a actress to a everyday general population client?
Yeah, I can do that really simple. They view it as part of their work, so they're dedicated. They don't see it as an add-on. They see it as part of their working day, as much as dialect coach, hair and makeup, whatever it might be. The training is part of their day, and they are often highly motivated because of, especially if it's an aesthetic role. So a guy who's going to be shirtless, for example, very highly motivated, because that's there for posterity, on film for posterity. So that, highly motivated, dedicated, and one of the biggest things I'd say is they listen to you. They're not interested in external information. They're just listening to you. They respect you as a professional in the way that they're respected as a professional. And so you're allowed to get on with your job without question, really.
Very good. Very good. No, I really want to know a list of every celebrity, but I know that you probably can't mention them. So I'm going to move on, because otherwise I'm going to tease myself. And like, my missus is like a big celebrity fan, so she'll be like, "Oh, who is he trained? Can you get a photo?" Do you know what I mean?
Well, I can tell you some of the. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch in the UK is certainly the biggest name. Olivia Colman as well. Trained Olivia Colman as well. But in Chris Pratt would probably be the biggest. He's a huge star now. He wasn't a star at all when I first, Jurassic World and Guardians of the Galaxy were his big films. Benicio del Toro is one of my favorites. Benicio del Toro. Just trying to think Sicario is one of his. He's been in loads of stuff. He's a really interesting guy. He's one of my favorites. But and lots of people in between as well. Yeah, it's good. I've been very lucky. Like I said, often this is the thing about just getting your qualification, because you never know where it's going to take you.
Yeah.
I never had a vision. I want to work in the film industry. I really want to work. I never thought about it. It was just pure luck. And that's about also the other thing you can do in life generally is just create associations and, and talk to people.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, like you said at the start or earlier on, you said about driving home, stopping at the petrol station, picking some stuff up. You're MD of a company. You were hating every minute of it. Never would you ever have thought at that time you would end up where you are now.
Never, ever.
Rich, can you, sorry to do this, but can you
very
give us
briefly,
a brief overview of UK hyperpressive, please? How it's applicable to my members, general population, if at all. If it isn't within reach of general population, where can they find a UK hyperpressive coach, and why would it be beneficial to them?
Okay, so let's try and keep it as brief as possible. The elevator pitch for this is never easy, actually, but it's a postural, pelvic floor and core training method brought over from Spain. It's been in Spain for 35 years. It's probably the most amazing thing I've ever done in health and fitness in terms of results, how quickly you can get results. The people we tend to see, although this is applicable to the general population, including athletes, the people we tend to see are the people with problems. So women, particularly with incontinence issues and pelvic organ prolapse, and men with hernias. And that is often a result of not being able to absorb, not being able to cope with intra-abdominal pressure. And of course, intra-abdominal pressure is associated with exercise, especially hardcore exercise. We brought this over from Spain. I did the first course in England. It didn't take off in England. I saw a business opportunity with my partner, Nikki Scott, to bring it back to England and to grow it. And that's what we've done, basically. So we educate, as I said before, osteopaths, chiropractors, physios, women's health physios, personal trainers, Pilates teachers, yoga teachers, for them then to go out and spread the word about hyperpressives. So people may or may not be aware, but incontinence is a huge problem in this country, amongst women, but also men have issues too. Pelvic organ prolapse, which is basically the descent of internal organs, which happens as a result of having babies, happens as a result, not always of having babies. It can be a result of just, life, menopause. So this is it's a relatively simple breathing technique. It's a breathing and breath hold technique done in various postures. And it's technical, but it's simple. And anyone can learn it. Anyone can learn it. So just to give you an example of how it's applicable to me, I was getting up at night, peeing 4 times a night, thinking that was normal part of the aging process. Mm-hmm. Did hyperpressives. Within a month, I stopped getting up, and I still don't get up at night. Very simple, because that's called nocturia. It's a recognized medical condition. You get up to pee, and that's a result of all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. But Nikki, mother of twins, 20 years old now, she didn't really do anything to help herself. She would do exercise, and she'd lose some urine, very common, not normal, but common. She did hyperpressure. Doesn't happen anymore. She's a 52-year-old woman. But we have clients, this can be life-changing, because a prolapse issue is a massive, massive problem for women, and it affects your mental health, it affects your sex life, it affects everything. So to be able to remedy that, to be able to remedy incontinence to the extent that people can go and exercise again, is huge. It's massive. It can prevent hernias. It can restore respiratory function. Yes, it's really good for people with asthma. It's applicable to athletes because it increases red blood cell volume as a result of the breath hold. So it's so many wide and varied applications. It's almost impossible to know where to go with it. Where mm-hmm. we've kind of gone with it is helping people overcome their issues, their physical problems. And that's where it is at the moment, but we like to grow it out because it's a great preventable form of exercise. So it's think yoga, but it works at a different physiological level. And I'm not going to go into that too much now, but think yoga, but with a different physiological reaction as a result of the breath hold. So if people want to find out more, if you go to ukhypopressives.com, so hypopressives is spelled hypopressives.com, ukhypopressives.com, and there's lots of information on there. I don't do I get involved in the education side. So I'm currently writing the course to go online, because obviously this could happen again, and we need an online course anyway. But we were teaching face-to-face previously, weekend courses, but those weekend courses are only for health and fitness professionals. We have an online program that people can buy and learn it, teach themselves at home, very comprehensive. We have Nikki does online taster sessions, so you can just, if you want to know, you know nothing about it, you don't want to spend any money, you just want to find out what it's about, go and do one of her taster sessions. She's really good at them.
And where can they find that?
On the UK Hyperpressives website. On the website.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and all right, and I think on there you'll find her phone number as well, so, or an email address, and you can just write to her if you want to find anything else out about it. And then you've got options. Once you've done the taster session, you do nothing. You can do, she does challenges where, you know, she tries to get people to do hyperpresses every day, very cheap. You could do one-to-one sessions with her online. Again, not particularly expensive. And then we've got the online program. So there's lots of ways to find out about it and to continue your hyperpresses sort of training and education.
Superb. I'm actually going to look into this a lot more. I mean, I've been aware of it because I knew that you were doing the courses. I actually remember you doing the first one that you did.
Yeah.
Back in Spain.
Yeah.
So health and fitness professionals can become qualified in it and therefore help their clients. And also general population can still get access to it by going to the website and actually having a little bit of a trial before you buy, and then maybe have some coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And just what I would say to people who are interested in it, just be careful where you get your information from, because there's a lot of nonsense out there, a lot of really poor hyperpressive teaching. We do have a directory on there for our trained hyperpressive instructors. Some people come and do the certification afterwards, because there's a video certification afterwards, because we want standards to be good. And some people have come on the course and just not, just used it for themselves and never got certified. So, there might be, I think there's maybe 75 trainers on there. We've probably trained 4 times as many as that, at least. At least. And so, I don't know what I was going to say about that. There are loads of options. There was loads of options for you.
I think the main thing that I want to make sure that the guys are aware of, sorry to jump in, but I want the guys to be aware that they don't have to be a trainer to be able to get access to it.
Not at all. She has developed, she's used lockdown. Nikki Scott has used lockdown to develop her teaching skills online, and she's really good at it. I'm not going down the route. It's not something that I would enjoy. So I will continue. I'll be when we teach the courses, it's mostly me that does the practical stand-up talking stuff, and we share the practical elements. But that's her baby, and she has enough passion for both of us to keep driving it forward. And I'm kind of there nowadays in support. And we've got courses now in Poland as well. Managed to get it out to Poland, so we're trying to branch out. But it's not anything where you're trying to sell something to somebody in this industry is not easy. But every single trainer ought to know about hyperpresses and what it can do. And every individual ought to know about, especially women, and especially postnatal women.
That's huge. I'm going to look into it. We'll continue this conversation off podcast.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Because when 80 to 90% of the people I work with are women who have children, I think it's going to be very, very useful for them.
Well, just one thing, very, very quickly. If you want Nikki to do a presentation to your group via Zoom, she'll do it for nothing. Because I know she's done that for other people. Half an hour, whatever you want, which she'll give you a demonstration, probably get your members actually doing some breathing as well, so they can feel what it feels like. Just get in touch. She'll do that. I'm in. Okay.
100%. And thank you ever so much for the comment.
And you personally, just drop into one of her taster sessions. Just sign up for one of her taster sessions.
Yeah,
she'll just give you an idea of what it's about.
Yeah, I will. Richard Peterson, it's been an absolute pleasure. It gets to this point where you lose track of time, and I could genuinely continue talking to you all day. Phenomenal trainer, phenomenal level of knowledge. I take a little bit of pleasure, bit of pride from this.
You
knowing
should do.
that I was the guy that started this journey.
You should do,
or at least I
because your
contributed
teaching was
to it.
excellent. Yeah, no, your teaching was always excellent, and along with most of the other people there, the difference between your teaching and theirs, you were very it was fun and it was very motivational, really motivational. Don't come out of the industry. The industry needs people like you, because there aren't enough knowledgeable, enthusiastic people who are really good with other people.
You're a good man. Rich, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved every second of it. It's good to catch up, and I appreciate your time very much.
Yeah, look after yourself and keep in touch.
All right, take care.
Cheers, Lee. Bye-bye.